Hi, everyone. Welcome to Organic Science. Curated by the Organic Guy and aided by AI, Organic Science shares hidden, hard-to-digest organic and sustainable farming research as bite-sized, brain-friendly insights you can use daily. For today's deep dive, we're looking at a really interesting question. Do organic fruits actually stack up differently? We often hear claims, maybe you've heard them too, that they look better, taste great, and last longer.
Right, and those are exactly the kinds of things people wonder about. So our mission today is to unpack a specific scientific study that really put those ideas under the microscope, focusing on strawberries.
Okay, strawberries. And what's the source we're digging into?
It's a detailed research paper published back in 2010 in PLA One. The title is Fruit and Soil Quality of Organic and Conventional Strawberry Agro-Ecosystems. It was led by John Regnold with a whole team of scientists.
And this wasn't just a small lab test, right?
No, not at all. They went big. They studied 13 pairs of actual commercial strawberry farms in California, one organic, one conventional in each pair. And they did this over 2 years, looking at, well, pretty much everything: the fruit, the soil, the whole system.
That sounds comprehensive. And it matters because, well, when you're deciding between organic and conventional strawberries, you want to know if there's a real difference, right? In taste, health, how long they'll last in your fridge.
Exactly. This study gives us some solid data points on those very questions,
Yeah.
especially on those claims about looking better, tasting great, and lasting longer.
All right, let's get into it then. Starting with the fruit itself. What did they find when they looked closely at the strawberries?
Well, they measured a whole range of things. Initially, looking at basic minerals, there were some differences. Organic strawberries had significantly less phosphorus and potassium,
Less P and K.
and conventionally grown strawberries, or rather the plants, had higher nitrogen and calcium in their leaves.
Lower levels in the organic fruit.
hmm
Does the study suggest that's like a nutritional downside? Should we be worried about that?
It's interesting. The paper actually provides some context there. They point out that strawberries aren't really our main source for phosphorus or potassium anyway.
Oh,
And they even mention, kind of counterintuitively, that maybe slightly less phosphorus might even be desirable based on some dietary intake guidelines they cited. So probably not the big issue you might think.
good context.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
What else? There was something about the actual physical makeup of the berries.
Yes, and this is where it starts getting really interesting, I think. Even though the organic strawberries were, on average, a bit smaller, about 13% less fresh weight,
Okay, smaller berries.
they actually packed in significantly more dry matter, about 8.3% more. So it's like they were denser, more concentrated.
More substance per berry, even if they weighed a bit less overall. That's fascinating. And what about that claim? The lasting longer idea. Did the study back that up?
They did. They tested the shelf life directly. And the organic strawberries they found had significantly longer survival times. They also lost less weight after sitting out for 2 days.
So they genuinely seem to last longer.
The data strongly suggests it, yeah. Which is, a pretty big deal for both consumers and farmers. Less waste, better value.
Definitely. Did the study offer any clues as to why they might last longer?
Well, they speculated a bit. It could be down to the organic berries having a stronger physical structure, maybe, or perhaps developing some kind of systemic resistance naturally.
Systemic resistance,
Mhm.
like the plant's own immune system being stronger.
Sort of, yeah. They contrast this with the conventional fields, which, the study noted, received multiple fungicide applications to deal with gray mold, that fuzzy stuff that makes berries rot quickly.
So the organic fields didn't get those fungicide sprays.
Right, so maybe the organic farming approach encouraged the plants to build up their own defenses rather
Yeah.
than relying on chemical treatments for that specific problem.
That makes a lot of sense. Building resilience from the soil up, maybe? Okay, what about the look better claim?
They found the organic berries tended to be a darker red, but appearance is subjective, right? So they use consumer sensory panels too.
Smart. What do people think?
The results were a bit mixed, depending on the strawberry variety. For Diamante, which is a really common one, people significantly preferred the appearance of the organic berries.
Okay, so for Diamante, they did look better to people.
Yes. But for the other varieties they tested, Lanai and San Juan, consumers rated the organic and conventional similarly in terms of looks. So look better wasn't universally true across all types, but it definitely was for a major variety in this study.
Interesting nuance there. Variety matters. Okay, let's move from the outside in. What about those compounds people often associate with health benefits, like antioxidants?
Ah, yes. This is a really significant finding, and it ties into that whole taste great, last longer idea, too, potentially through the berry's composition. The organic strawberries consistently showed higher levels of these beneficial compounds.
Higher levels, how much higher?
Significantly higher. Specifically, 8.5% more total antioxidant activity, 9.7% more vitamin C ascorbic acid, and 10.5% more total phenolics compared to the conventional ones.
Wow, those aren't trivial amounts. Those are noticeable jumps. And these are the compounds linked to health protection.
Exactly. The paper links these higher levels directly to potential human health benefits, mentioning their role in protecting against diseases. They even cite this other really intriguing study
Oh, yeah.
where extracts from organic strawberries actually showed decreased cancer cell proliferation in lab tests. Now, it's really important to be clear.
Right.
The study we're discussing is just reporting that finding from another paper they cited. They didn't do cancer cell tests themselves,
Yeah.
but it shows the kind of research connections being explored.
Understood. It's context, not a direct claim
Right.
from this specific study. Still fascinating, though.
Hmm.
Did they look at specific types of antioxidants beyond the totals?
They did look deeper, yes. And interestingly, while the total phenolics and total antioxidant activity were higher, when they drilled down into specific individual polyphenols like quercetin or ellagic acid, the differences weren't always significant or were mixed.
Okay, so the overall antioxidant power and things like vitamin C were up, but not necessarily every single specific compound they measured.
That seems to be the picture, yes. A boost in overall activity in key players rather than an across-the-board increase in everything.
Got it. Okay, now for what might be the ultimate test for many people choosing strawberries? Taste. Did they confirm the taste great claim?
This is often the deciding factor, isn't it? And yes, for the Diamante variety again, the consumer panels had a clear preference.
What did they say?
They rated the organic Diamante strawberries as significantly sweeter. They also preferred the flavor and the overall acceptance compared to the conventional Diamante.
Sweeter and better flavor overall for that key variety. Did the lab tests back up the sweetness part?
They did. That's quite compelling, isn't it? The lab analysis confirmed it by showing higher soluble solids content, basically. More sugars in the organic Diamante berries. Taste buds confirmed by data.
That is compelling. But let me guess, was this true for all the varieties tested?
You guessed it. Just like with appearance, the taste advantage wasn't universal across the board. For the Lanai and San Juan varieties, the taste panels rated them similarly to the conventional ones.
So again, variety plays a big role. But for Diamante, a major commercial type, the organic option came out on top for taste, sweetness, and appearance in the study.
That's right. And combined with the higher dry matter, longer shelf life, and those increased antioxidant levels, it paints a pretty positive picture for the organic fruit in this comparison, especially for that variety.
It really does seem to align well with those initial claims, at least directionally and significantly for Diamante.
Okay, so that covers the fruit quality. But you mentioned the study went deeper, into the soil itself.
Yes, and this is where the study gets really fascinating because the authors suggest these differences in the soil might actually explain the differences they saw in the fruit.
Ah, connecting the dots. So
Mhm.
what did they find when they analyzed the soil on these farms? They looked at different depths. They did, samples from 2 depths. But the really striking, consistent differences were found in that top layer, the surface soil, 0 to 10 centimeters down,
Yeah.
where most of the action happens biologically.
Makes sense. And what were the key differences there in terms of basic soil composition?
Huge differences in organic matter. The organic surface soils had significantly more total carbon, about 21.6% more, and also significantly more total nitrogen, over 30% more.
Wow, that much more carbon and nitrogen. That's fundamental for healthy soil, right?
Absolutely. More organic matter means better soil structure, holds water better, improves fertility. It's really the foundation.
So fundamentally richer soil. Any other basic differences pop out?
Yep. The organic topsoil also had significantly higher levels of some important micronutrients for plants: zinc, boron, sodium, and notably higher iron levels too compared to the conventional soil.
Okay, so richer chemically.
Mhm.
But what about the living part, the microbes? That's often talked about as the engine of soil health.
It really is. And the differences here were, well, astounding. The organic surface soils supported way more microbial life. Get this, the microbial biomass was 159.4% greater.
Wait, 159%? That's almost 3 times the amount of microbial life.
Exactly. It's a massive difference. They also found more microbial carbon, more readily mineralizable carbon, Basically, multiple indicators pointing to a much larger, more active microbial community.
Incredible. And were these microbes just more numerous, or were they actually doing more active?
They were more active too. All the measures of microbial activity, they looked at things like soil respiration, enzyme activities like dehydrogenase, phosphatases, which are crucial for nutrient cycling, all significantly higher in the organic soils.
So more microbes, and they're working harder, breaking things down, cycling nutrients.
Well, actually, there's a nuance there too. They looked at something called the QCO2 metabolic quotient.
Okay, this sounds technical. What does that tell us?
It's basically a measure of efficiency. How much CO2 the microbes release per unit of their biomass. The organic soils had a significantly lower QCO2.
Lower. So they were releasing less CO2 for their size. What does that imply?
It suggests the microbial community in the organic soils was more energy efficient, or maybe under less environmental stress. They were perhaps working smarter, not just harder, possibly because they were in a healthier, more resource-rich environment.
More abundant, more active, and more efficient. That sounds like a really thriving soil ecosystem.
Yeah.
Did they get any sense of what these microbes were capable of doing functionally?
Yes, and this is where they used some really advanced tech for the time, a geochip microarray. This tool doesn't just count microbes. It looks for the presence and abundance of specific genes within the entire soil microbial community, genes linked to important soil functions.
Like a genetic blueprint of the soil's capabilities,
Yeah.
analyzing their potential toolkit.
Exactly, a functional profile. And the results were striking. The overall signal intensity, reflecting the total detected functional genes, was significantly higher in organic soils.
Okay, more potential overall, but specific functions.
Here's the kicker. The signal intensities for all 11 functional gene groups they looked at were significantly greater in the organic soils. Everything from nitrogen fixation, carbon breakdown, phosphorus use, even genes involved in degrading pesticides or resisting heavy metals.
All 11 groups showed higher potential in organic. That's incredibly consistent.
It really is. And check this specific detail. Out of over 1,700 individual genes the chip could detect, 553 were found at significantly higher levels in the organic soils.
Okay.
And not a single 1-0 was significantly higher in the conventional soils.
Not one gene significantly higher in conventional. It's a stark contrast.
It is. Plus, the organic soils had way more unique genes, 233 genes detected only in organic samples compared to just 2 found only in conventional.
So it's not just more microbes, it's a fundamentally different, more diverse, and seemingly more capable microbial community in the organic soil.
That's precisely what the data suggests. Greater abundance, greater diversity of functions. It points towards a soil ecosystem that might be more resilient, better able to perform a wider range of tasks like nutrient cycling or even dealing with contaminants. They did check the basic fungal to prokaryote ratio, and that was similar, so it wasn't just a major shift in broad groups.
Wow, okay, let's tie this all together. We have these huge differences in the soil, more organic matter, way more microbial life, more activity, more efficiency, vastly more functional genetic potential. How does the study connect this back to the better strawberries?
The authors basically conclude that these organic farms were producing higher quality fruit and had demonstrably higher quality soils, and they propose a strong link that these healthier, more vibrant soils, especially the microbial communities, likely contributed directly to the better fruit quality they measured, the higher density, the antioxidants, the longer shelf life.
So the soil health is potentially driving the fruit quality. Makes intuitive sense. Did the study identify why the soils were so different between the organic and conventional farms? What management practices were key?
They pointed to a few main things based on what the farms are actually doing. A big one was chemical fumigation. The conventional fields used methyl bromide fumigation.
Which is pretty harsh stuff, right? Kills almost everything.
Exactly. It's a broad-spectrum biocide. It essentially sterilizes the soil, which would wipe out a huge chunk of that beneficial microbial community we just talked about. Organic fields obviously didn't use that or other synthetic pesticides.
Okay, so avoiding the soil-killing chemicals is one factor. What else?
Compost. The organic farms use significantly more compost, roughly double the application rate compared to the conventional farms.
Ah, so it's not just about avoiding the bad stuff, but actively adding the good stuff. Feeding the soil life.
That seems to be a critical part of the equation, yes. Feeding the soil with that organic matter. They also noted that these farms had been managed this way for some time, so these differences likely built up over years of consistent practice. Crop rotations were apparently similar, so that probably wasn't the main driver of the differences they saw.
So, summarizing the soil part. Avoiding harsh fumigants and pesticides, plus actively building soil health with lots of compost, seem to create this incredibly rich, living, functional soil ecosystem in the organic systems.
That's the picture this study paints very clearly, based on their extensive data.
And it was, as you said, a really robust study, looking at real commercial farms over multiple years, combining soil science, fruit chemistry, consumer testing, even advanced genetic analysis.
Yeah, it's a really solid piece of interdisciplinary research. It gives us a pretty detailed snapshot comparing these two systems side by side.
It certainly does. It really moves beyond just anecdote and provides some strong evidence for these differences.
Def
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. Consider this chain reaction the study suggests. The farming practices directly impact the soil health, particularly the vast, unseen world of microbes. This soil health, in turn, seems to influence the quality of the fruit itself, its density, its nutrient profile, its antioxidants, maybe even its shelf life and taste.
It really highlights how practices that nurture the soil life might be doing more than just avoiding chemicals. They could be fostering this complex, beneficial interplay that affects the food reaching your plate.
It makes you think about that hidden world beneath our feet and how profoundly it might shape the food we eat in ways we're really only just starting to appreciate fully. Something to chew on next time you're looking at those strawberries.